there, welcome back. So look at this lovely pile of yumminess. This is Arteza mica powder called Golden Glow. Another Arteza mica powder called Ballerina Glow. You've probably seen me use those before. A package full of towers of little containers of mica powder. They're from Temu. And these two lovely free gifts that we were sent by Jules from Jules Resin Jewels, and they were free gifts, but they're by a company called Mould, who also make fantastic resin. Look at this swan mould. It is gorgeous. Now that's the bigger one. Then we've got this one, which is slightly smaller on the left, one on the left. So I've named those the daddy and the mummy, or the him and the her of it. So the idea is I'm going to blend some mica powder colourings in both of them and add some resin. So here we go. I'm trying at this point to find the right colour shade of gold to put in the beak part. Now I actually thought, considering the density and just the density of the colour of this mica powder in the little container pot, that it would be the right colour. But you know, I'm applying it as I would normally. Dry bristled paintbrush, regular brush, and it's not quite cutting the mustard. Pardon the pun, considering the colour. But as you can see, it's nice, but I don't know, it's just not quite there. You know, and as usual, I'm getting it everywhere. Don't forget, you can see that I am wearing a pair of violety coloured nitrile gloves. And underneath those, I have actually got some white cotton gloves as well, just for me for comfort. There we go. So I'm just brushing away with the mica powder. Still trying to get this one to work. Now that is quite subtle. It is lovely, but I was concerned that it wouldn't come up. It wouldn't show enough. So I gave up with that. I gave up with that colour. It is gorgeous, and I'm just removing it here with just a wet wipe, baby wet wipe type thing. Or you can use a piece of kitchen towel and spritz it with some isopropyl alcohol. Totally up to you. It's just doing a little bit of a clean up. Quite rare for me to do a bit clean up as we go, because I'm a bit of a messy crafter. But hey ho, here we are. We're carrying on, cleaning it up thoroughly, doing a thorough job there. Well done, Laura. From voiceover Laura to creator Laura. Anyway, here we go. So it's nice and clean again, and just let it dry for a few seconds. It dries out very quickly. These moulds, by the way, the swan moulds, they're from Temu. We treated ourselves to these. It's not a sponsored video, and we just decided. I have seen, actually, thinking about it while I mention this now, I have seen another artist do these, and she filled it full of little pieces of shells and pebbles and things, and it looked gorgeous. But I wanted to try and keep a little bit with traditional, with a tiny bit of artistic license, perhaps. Yeah. But I thought, to be honest with you, plain white swans might be a little bit boring. Nothing to say there's absolutely nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. But I decided, let's just put it up a fraction or two. Let's take it up a notch, Anyway, as you can see, loads of mica powder. I used the metallic gold mica powder, which I didn't show you at the beginning, but that is actually from a company called Estoyo, and it is part of their resin kit. Their resin is exceptionally good resin. Look at that. Now that is giving the depth of sheen and colour that I wanted. Almost a royalness about it, perhaps, the colour. The swans are also quite a royal bird, I believe. There we go. There we are. Swans, I don't know if you know this, bit of useless information here. If ever you go on any trivia quizzes, they mate for life, which is rather lovely. There we go. So that one is exactly the colour I want. Now, decided I've picked a nice deep, what looks like cobalt blue colour powder. And I want to pop it just in the top and around, just bringing into life some of the detail. Just so that we could differentiate which was the male, which was the female in these two particular moulds. Again, the depth of colour The darkness, the deep colour of the blue in the pot is a lot darker and deeper than when you apply it to the mould. But that's what we found with mica powders that we've bought from Temu. But that's absolutely fine. I mean, to be honest, mixing there with the gold, it looks gorgeous. So I'm just trying to clean up a little bit as we go, just so that it gives you more of an idea, and me, of what it really looks like. So there we go, just applying a little bit more blue there. This bit has been sped up because this took me rather a lengthy period of time to do. And this video is over 30 minutes long already. So I do hope you've made yourself nice and comfy. Got yourself a nice drink or something, maybe, you know, relaxing, put your feet up, and got some snacks if that's your jam, as they say. Anyway, as you can see, I've gone back again with the gold. I'm just trying to blend it into the blue. I've put it up in the top bit of his head there. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if it's a crest. I've no clue at all. But as you can see, I've gone for a bit of artistic license, because obviously you're never going to see any swans with blue heads. But, you know, I thought, why not? Let's go for it. Plus, this is a bit of a change from the norm where we've been concentrating on our autumn and fall collection, using all those lovely coppers and browns and goldens and creamy colours, real earth tones. So this is a complete change from that. So I thought we'd just have a little break from it for the time being. Right. So again, just gone a bit further down into this mould. This mould's quite large in height. Hence why I can't really zoom out very well and show you this. So I thought I'd zoom in and just show you, pieces of it as I'm doing it. So can you see that I'm just applying it with no particular plan in my head. It's evolving, should we just say, as I'm doing this. And just applying the mica powder there, trying to blend it all in, trying not to use too much, but you know, that's the hazard. And yeah, usually with mica, a little powder goes a long way. That is true. And don't forget, obviously, if you're going to use mica powder or resin, make sure that you've got all the appropriate PPE. So you've got your gloves. You are protecting your airway. So you're wearing, by that I mean you're working in a well-ventilated area. You've got a respirator mask on. You're wearing an apron. And, you know, you're not wearing anything with great long baggy sleeves, but that your arms are also covered too. So here we are. I've gone back with the gold again. Those two colours, the blue and the gold, they look really lovely. Really, really lovely. Yeah, so the idea was I was just going to try and highlight a few bits and pieces, you know, a few areas. I wasn't sure what this is going to look like. This is the first time we've ever used these moulds. I can think of all kinds of different swans that you can have in, you know, finished pieces with it. There's nothing wrong with it. You can do the shells. You can do pieces of is it power shell, I believe, or mother of pearl shells. I did almost do that. If you haven't seen me using mother of pearl shell plates, they called them, natural shell plates, go over to our playlist and have a look. I made 3 pots, beautiful, sort of got a bit of a geometric pattern on the front of them, round pots with the lids, a bit Art Deco looking. They are gorgeous. So I almost used the shell slices or plates, natural plates, mother of pearl they are, in that. I was going to use the rest that I had in here, but then I thought, you know what, no. Let's try the mica powder first. Let's see if you've still got that little bit of artistic flair, Laura, that you're going to come up with something and in the end, you know, might actually look half decent. But no, I do. The finished pieces I do really love, and they would look lovely anywhere, really, whether you have whether you want to put them in a bathroom, whether you have a sunroom or a garden room that you want to put them in, whether you want to put them in a child's bedroom or nursery, look gorgeous, or even in a dressing room. Do you know what I'd love? I'd love a large walk-in wardrobe, big enough so you have a central island in it. I'd have to buy a whole other house for that, mind you. Anyway, moving on, because I digress. We are just progressing round here, turning it over every now and then, giving it a good tappy-wappy. Trying to get rid of all the excess mica So there we go. You can see I've put it in up round where the wing detail is and the feathers. We're putting some up round the top by the tail and some up round the neck. Now this is the Golden Glow Arteza mica powder. So it's mainly white, and then when it turns in certain lights, it's got that gold sheen. I'm also using the white from the Temu Tower of Mica powders there. Yeah. I get into a bit of a mess. So I have zoomed out a bit. Okay, so that you can see exactly what I'm about to do. So I'm just loading up my brush with the Golden Glow mica powder, and I'm going now just brushing this mould, blending it in to every space where that hasn't already got mica powder, and also going over the places that have already got the blue or the gold. So I'm just trying to blend it, a bit like if you were shading with pencils or pastels and you were just shading. So just trying to get it to blend. There we go. Makes it look even more 3D, I think. Oh, look at that, that is top by the head, where the blue goes into the gold. Now there are little indents on the mould. You're not seeing things in the head. That is for the eye. I didn't show afterwards when I demolded this. It's all cured and I demolded and it's gone off and it's cured completely. I didn't show, or you won't see me actually putting in the eyes. All I've taken is a black pen. Now it can be a drawing marker, a fine nibbed drawing marker. It can be a tiny bit of black acrylic paint if you have got a steady enough hand. Totally up to you. Or if you want and you've got tiny little black seed beads without holes in, you could put those in, or maybe a tiny bit of crushed glass. Totally up to you on how you do that. But all I used was a fine nibbed or fine tipped nib black drawing pen. There we go. So can you see what I've done there? I've just blended round that Golden Glow and that lovely crystal white mica powders. So here we go. So here's where the head is. Can you see that? Looks gorgeous. Yeah, there's the eye part, all down there in the neck, and then into the wings and the tail and the body, main body part. Look at that. That actually looks quite subtle, subtly blended. Now it's time to do the female one. So again, we're going up. Now this one's got a slightly different shaped head to the male, just up round the top. It doesn't have like a peak or a crown part, but it does have the beak. So we're going in with the gold mica powder in the beak. And yes, I've overdone the gold mica powder. Oh dear, I didn't tap the brush properly. Right, so whilst my brush still has some gold mica powder, or there's still some there, I'm just going to go round in certain sections of the neck and just sort of blend it onto the surface of the mould. And again, I'm just trying to follow the same process that I did with the male one, where I'd got the gold with the blue and then with the Golden Glow and so on. So moving it down, we're going to just highlight or put the details, some of it with the gold mica. We're just brushing it on again, dry bristled paintbrush. Same technique completely as to what we did with the blue and gold swan, the first swan. It's just going round the edges, in round there on the sides. There we are. It's coating the mould quite nicely. So just moving down and around the front of the body there. Oh, there's a little hair. These are new out the packet and they just seem to attract hairs. But I find that with some moulds. That's the thing you have when you have pets. So if you have cats or dogs, yeah, no matter how clean and tidy you are, there's always a rogue escape piece of dog hair. Anyway. Here we are, we're just again blending a bit down the side of the neck. Sorry, it's out of shot there. There we go. I had to zoom in enough so that you could see what I was doing. There we are. So it just needs a tiny bit more gold. There we go. just going to turn it around completely so you can see. This was a little bit fiddly, but you know, take your time with what you're doing when you're doing it. Make sure you've got everything thoroughly, you know, brushed onto the mould, burnished onto it, I believe they call it. And that you've blended it. If this is what you've decided to do, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing a solid colour of like all gold or white or pink or blue. Totally up to you. You could have a mix of colours. You could do a marble effect swans with resin. I mean, you could also use any of your EcoFlows, so Jesmonite or Elichem resin. Yeah, and any of the other, you know, main brands that produce these eco resin. And by eco resin, what I mean is where it's a mix, it's got when it's mixed, it looks a little bit like plaster of Paris. So it's got like a and it's got anything from a single cream to a double cream or heavy cream consistency. Apologies if you can hear my dog bark in the background. Anyway, moving on with our lovely Lady Swan. This is the pink mica powder. I think it's a mica powder, not a pigment. And it was a freebie given to us from the lovely Jules at Resin Jules. And it's made by Mould, the same people that make the gorgeous resin that we have been using. Which, unfortunately, we have actually at this point used it all up. But we didn't buy a lot of it. So the jellyfish, both jellyfishes that we made were made out of it. Anyway, so here we go. And can you see what I'm doing? I'm just literally applying that beauty. It, again, very subtle when you blend it in compared to the colour and the deep pink colour that it is when it's in that pot. I mean, you know, I think this pink looks absolutely stunning. First time in the video I've said that word, but it does look that way. I mean, it's gorgeous, beautiful. So again, just going in again, round bits of the neck, turning it over, giving it a good tap, making sure that all the excess mica powder is off. And that was the pink. Now, there are parts, I'm just giving it another tidy up, by the way. And again, as you can see, this has been sped up. I don't work this quickly. But yeah, you don't need to see me doing that in real time. Here we go. This is the Ballerina Glow. So this is by Arteza. It's a white, crystal white mica powder. And can you see that sheen it gives when of pink? Look at that. It's beautiful. So I completed all of that one. And here is the little close-up shots of the mica powder in the moulds. There we go. So you've got your blue and gold and your pink and gold. Can you see how subtle that actually looks? So this is a different resin. Now, yeah, this is from, I think, from Let's Resin. Gosh, it's gone. My mind's completely out of sync here. Anyway, so I mixed it up again. It's a 1-to-1 mixing ratio. It mixes really well. It's quite thick. It's not what I'm used to. It's quite thick. And there were a lot of bubbles. But I did mix it very thoroughly for 5 minutes. And all I wanted to do was add white and a white pigment paste. So this is the white pigment paste I'm using. And again, I've not said this before, I don't think, in this video. Everything we've used in today's video will be linked in the description box just down below. So squidged a load in, stirring it in, mixing it, combining it, mixing it, combining it. It's so thick, this resin. I think we need to invest in a heat mat. But until we actually do that, I'm going to start putting both pots of my resin in just a bucket or a bowl of warm water for about 10-15 minutes before I decide to use it. And that's before it's combined in the separate containers still, but warming it through gradually, just so it's nice and thin, or thinner than this. Now, what I've done is I've decanted some of it into smaller mixing jugs. These are silicone mixing jugs. It's just so that I have more control over pouring the resin into this mould. So I've started with the pink and gold one. Slowly and steadily, trying not to spill any, down the neck, into the front of the body, into the head, keeping everything crossed, my fingers crossed, my toes crossed, my legs crossed, everything. Hoping and really hoping and praying that I don't get any air bubbles, because I can't go around the edges of this mould and in all around the detail with a tiny microfiber brush, because I have put mica powder on the mould. If I was to do that with the brush, I risk scratching the mould to start with and marking it, which is not what I want to do. And I also risk dislodging or putting scratches and marks in where I've put the mica powder, which I don't want to do, obviously. So here we go. It's gradually getting there. It's filling up. Now, I wasn't sure how much resin these swans would take, so I've made up 325 millilitres. I'm afraid I don't know what that is in ounces, but I made up 325 millilitres in total, and I actually thought I was going to need more than that. I really did. But I was pleasantly surprised because I had just about enough resin. Just about enough. So here we go. So that was one of those mini jugs full. And I'm just going to top it up again because it's still a little bit low in places. Example, round here. And there must have been a little something on the surface of the mould I'm just trying to get rid of there. Yeah, still a little low in places. I do end up with a little bit of overpour, which is a shame. But you know, you can tidy that up once it's completely cured. So there we go. It's just going down into the mould. I mean, at this point, I was just, as I said, just keeping everything crossed in my mind and hoping and praying that this worked out and we didn't get any little air bubbles or pockets, and also that it had the effect that I was after. So there's the pink and gold one done. Now we're going to go with the blue and gold, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. So pouring it into the head and the beak part first on this one, and then down through the neck. There we go. Down the body. Unfortunately, sorry you can't see that, purely because I couldn't zoom out any further with my camera. So apologies about that. But you get the gist of it. There we are. Slowly, steady pouring. Almost out of resin from this jug. And as I said, you know, just hoping that at this point, I wasn't sure if I'd made up enough or not. So there we go. Lovely. Almost done there now. Now, the one thing I can do to try and disperse any bubbles that are on the surface of these two moulds with the surface of the resin is to spritz them. And by spritz, I mean spray them. Using an atomizer spray, which has got 99% isopropyl alcohol in it. Now, you don't have to use isopropyl alcohol if you don't want to. You can use the heat from a torch, but not the flame. So if you're going to use one of those torches, please, please, please hold it a good 2.5, maybe even higher heat distance away from the top of that mould, and make sure that you are just using the heat. You're not applying the flame direct to it. So turn it to setting right down on it, please. Otherwise you'll burn the resin, you risk catching fire, and you also risk ruining your mould and ruining the piece. But we opt to go for isopropyl alcohol. You can also use a long-necked even lighter. And again, you're just using the heat from the tiny little flame that'll come off the end of that round on the surface. Now, if you've already sprayed them with isopropyl alcohol, please, please, please don't use heat on them, because you really do risk having a fire. Okay, so anyway, there we go. There's the two of them. Now, this was the following day. Their necks are still a bit bendy. The wings are still a bit bendy. And with hindsight, I should have left them another 12 hours before demoulding them. Unfortunately, because I decided to demould them early, the necks did become misshapen, and where we've had to reshape them, you've got a few little bumps or waves in the neck parts. But, you know, it is what it is. I shall know for the future. Because you can see there, that's quite bendy. It is cured. It's not tacky to the touch. But next time I'll leave it for another 12 hours and then I'll demold. So, just repositioning the gloves again. So, just coming back to it. Here we are. If you're still with us, thanks for staying with us. Don't forget to give us a like, share and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. It's free to subscribe. Very free. Very free. It's free. If you hit the notification bell, you'll then be alerted to the fact that we upload videos usually 3 times a week at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, a Friday and a Sunday. And we really do appreciate anybody that views our videos, particularly if you then subscribe, if you're not already a subscriber, and if you hit the notification bell, and if you give us a thumbs up. Why not leave us a comment? Did you enjoy the video? Are you just as impatient as we are when it comes to doing demolding? Can't wait, too excited. What colours would you use? Would you go with shells? Would you go with tiny little pebbles? Would you go with crushed glass? Would you go with solid colour pigments? Or would you try and do what I've tried to do here? So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you haven't subscribed, please do think about subscribing. A lot of our views don't come through our subscribers. They just come through people who have found us through searching YouTube or as a YouTube, oh, we recommend you watch this. As I said, free to subscribe. Having said that, we will very soon be offering memberships. They are paid memberships to our channel. They will start off quite low, and all further details as regards what you'd be entitled to then will follow shortly in the next couple of videos time. But look at this. Look how beautiful that looks. It looks almost like a beautiful piece of glass, handcrafted glass or hand blown glass. So we did reshape her, and then we did let her cure for another 12 hours, and she was great. So before we do that, I'm just going to trim up the little excess pieces of overpour with some scissors, as you can see there. Again, you can leave this until it's completely cured, but I tend to like to get at these little pieces whilst they're still thin and still soft enough for me to use to get rid of with a little pair of scissors. So I'm just using a little pair of sewing scissors, which I have only ever used for doing this. I've never used them for sewing. But my favourite little pair of rainbow colour effect scissors. There we go. Scissors like this you can pick up easy enough off of the internet, at sort of Amazon and so on. But look at that. I love that. The gold on the beak, the indent for the eye, where I've rubbed the gold and the pink on the neck going down into where the feather part is and so on. You can just imagine all the little signets on that back in between her feathers and the wings and stuff going along with their mum. Anyway, so here is the blue and gold one. And again, we've got the bendy neck and so on. But yeah, we go. So we're just demoulding. It looks at this point like all the mica powder has come as is on the piece and not on the mould still, which is really good. So I'm doing my best to demould here. There we go. Come on. Come on out. There we are. It looks to me at this point as if this one has worked as well, which I can't tell you I was so pleased about, because I was so worried that we were going to get little air bubbles trapped and yeah, and that it would ruin it then. Although, to be honest, if you had any little air bubbles that appeared on the other side of this, and you've got some tiny little round coloured glass pieces or little tiny like beads without holes, you know, the ones without the holes in, you know what I'm talking about, or little bits of crushed glass, tiny bits, you could always go in and just glue those where you've got the little like air holes. So it looks like it was intentional. So there's just a little tip on how to repair something like that. Right, so I'm still struggling a bit with this mould here. It's really because I've got my gloves on. But yeah, for the time being, I'm going to be keeping my gloves on for every stage in the process or processes. So yeah, we got some overpour on this one as well that I need to deal with. He is still quite bendy. Unfortunately, the bends have left some little twisted parts in the surface of him, but he still looks really, really good. Now, that bit of overpour there is quite thick. So if the scissors don't go through it, then I will use a craft knife. But here you go. You can see me. I'm just snipping off this bit. This bit's a bit thinner. And the only reason why this overpour happened was because I had to move them. I couldn't believe it. I had to move the moulds. And they're not ever so well supported in the way they've been made. But, you know, I really, really shouldn't have been moving them. You know, once you've poured it, let it sit, let it stand. Oh, something to mention that we do is we do actually babysit our projects for a couple of hours or so. And by that, what I mean is every 15 minutes or so, we'll pop in, 15, 20 minutes, we'll pop in, go back, look at it, have any air bubbles come up to the surface. If they have, then we get rid of them. And you either get rid of them using a little cocktail stick, just to pop them, or push them out to the side to disperse them completely, or you give them another spritz with some isopropyl alcohol and they normally disappear. And as I said, if you're using spritzing with isopropyl alcohol, please, please, please do not use, then use heat on it. So here we go. Oh, his neck is quite bent. Oh dear, oh dear. So apologies again for the dogs barking. Here we go. So just going to clear away those little bits there. I do actually clean up the rest of the overpour. We did leave these for another 12 hours, as I said, afterwards. As you can see here, he is just as bendy as the pink and the gold one was. We left it for another 12 hours and I went back and I cleaned up all the rest of the inside where you can see that overpour. And then drew on their eyes for them. So here's the final shot, everybody, of the two of them together, the pink and the gold and the blue and the gold. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like them as much as I do. I was very pleased with the result. Not too disappointed, actually, about those three little bendy bits there. Really, really pleased. It's inspired me to do some other versions as well. Thanks again for joining us. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.